Drake.
What's going on?
Word?
There's a lot of words going on, man. A lot of words, a lot of comments coming in already, man. People are freaking out. We've got the incredible Mark Slaughter on with us tonight, so people are been waiting and chomping at the bit for this. Over 60,000 people touching the post about Mark coming on the show tonight. How incredible is that? So
pretty cool. I mean, shoot, yeah. I'm as excited as all 60,000 of them put together. Let me tell you.
Hell yeah, man! I grew up on this guy and loved music. So let's do a couple quick shout outs. We got to give Kim Brady Van East a shout out. We know you're going through some hard times, hon, and we're here for you. Anytime you want to talk, either Robbie or I are there for you. You know that. Of course, we've got the big Hangout Live concert taking place, Rock the River 2 here in San Angelo, Texas. That is August 27th at the River Stage. Of course, we've got Morgan Miles. Vallejo has come out of retirement to do this show. Tequila Rock Revolution, Quiet Riot, and none other than Jack Russell's Great White taking the stage. A lot of people are flying in for this show, Robbie. In fact, I just heard from Tina Collins-Foy today saying, hey, dude, can you help me out and pick me up at the airport? Because there's no cars available. So we can make that happen. We can make
shuttle services for anybody coming in, right? Just part of the van. You can have a van for all of us anyhow, right?
Yeah, several of them. There
you go. That could work, huh? So anybody who wants to come in, just hit up.
Reach me out. Reach me out. That didn't sound right. But reach me around? No, that sounded even worse.
No.
All right, my brother. So I don't think we pause any further with this. Mark's down here waiting. Let's bring him on up into the show here.
Hey there, guys.
My brother. What are you doing?
Oh, man, just enjoying the day and, just playing some music. I got back home yesterday, so, we had a good run, played all over the country and back again, and now back in the studio and starting to record. So all's good.
Hell yeah. Now, you said you've been on a terror kind of streak here the last couple of weeks. How many shows have you played?
Probably about 12 in the last 3.5 weeks. So, yeah, we've been really busy. And it's all flight dates, too. So,
damn,
it's a lot. Yeah, you lose some sleep on those.
Yeah, you do.
What I want to know is how you can even sing after that. After 5 or 6 weeks in a row.
You don't think about it. You just do it. I've been doing this a lifetime, so it's all good.
There you go, my brother. There you go. So I don't know, Mark, if you've been told a lot about our show, but our show kind of takes it back to the beginnings. Okay, we want to go way back. Before Slaughter, before the fame and world
Excursion, before all, yeah,
right. We want to go back, growing up in Las Vegas. We're not going to mention the year because I don't do that to people.
Yeah.
In high school and before that, coming up at home. Yeah, coming up at home. Let's talk about the home life. Was there a lot of music? Was there a lot of art? What was the influences coming up as a little Mark Slaughter?
It was the music by the village, so to speak. Vegas was Green Acres with lights when I was a kid. So it was kind of like, it was a totally different animal than it is right now. There's, a lot of my friends' parents were in the music industry. My dad was an electrician. My mom worked for the police department. And so it was like, that really wasn't even a part of it, but my mom was really cool with music and listened to everything. Actually took me to my first concerts and all that stuff. And, Vegas is still the entertainment capital of the world. So in that side of it, I was exposed to everything growing up, from rock and roll to jazz. When I was in high school, I played in a jazz band, and Glenn Miller's trumpet player came by and worked with the band. Wow. So, I had all these really, very different influences,
How freaking cool is that, man? So,
yeah.
Glenn Miller, obviously, the big band era, all that. My mom, man, turned me on to that at a very young age. So, let's talk about your first concert that you can remember growing up. What was it?
First concert I went to growing up, actually my mom took me to see Kenny Loggins. Then I went to see Heart play. Nice. There was a lot of these bands that they play on Yacht Rock, Pablo Cruz, Player, Firefall. I saw all these other, kind of hit bands at that time playing. I saw Santana. I saw, I saw Van Halen and the Fair Warning tour. You know, I saw Boston with Sammy Hagar opening up.
Oh, hell.
Wow.
And which actually really changed my life in a lot of ways, because I was a huge Boston fan, and Sammy came out, was just such a fire, man. He had so much energy, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to sing and play guitar. I want to do both. And so that really got me into the guitar aspect of it. Really got into guitar through high school, played around town. I sang in barbershop quartets, and there's a large barbershop quartet called the Las Vegas Gamboliers. And I really learned a lot of intricate harmonies in that side of it. I mean, this is all the influences. It's all over the place. It's all over the map. So I had hard rock. I had barbershop. I had jazz. I had madrigals. I had, you know, so there's all these types of music that ultimately makes it to where who I am as a songwriter first and foremost.
Cool.
Badass, brother, badass.
So you know, so it's all over the place, really. And to answer your question, it's all over the place in my musical influences and how I grew up.
So when you picked up guitar, what did you first learn then? I mean, with all that influence, what was the first thing that you were like, okay, you know, smoke on the water? I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, I actually started on, you know, I'm older than that. I'm 57. So I grew up with, you know, the James Taylor, the John Denver, that type of stuff, which is more of a folk hand, you know, it's a picking technique. So I played an acoustic thing. So it was all very songwriter driven stuff. And then when I went to school, there was a jazz band, and they said, well, you can't play an acoustic, you need electric guitar. So then it changed everything. Then I was listening to, you know, Aerosmith and all that stuff, that as I was getting older, I was learning all that cool stuff. But as far as like influences, I don't have one influence in particular. I just love music.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I listened, you know, I used to tape my transistor radio to the handlebars of my bike and just turn it up till the batteries would go, and, you know, listen to Locomotion by Grand Funk Railroad. Lo and behold, I'm doing some recording with Mark Farner right now. So, you know, I'm living the dream, man. I've really been lucky to have music as my career, my only career. You know, so I ended up being a guitar teacher, moves into put your guitar down and be a singer, which I did with Vinny. And then I brought my songwriting and guitar playing into Slaughter. So it's kind of done this weave of all aspects.
Yeah.
Wow. So high school.
So
high school, you form a band called Excursion.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Vegas metal band. You even had a hit song. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did there was a couple records there that they had all these bands of the favorite song on the record, and ours was the favorite song of the local bands on that record. So, you know, I look back on it and just go, man, this is crazy. You know, you're just doing it as a kid. You're promoting, you're doing all this stuff. You want to play with your band. You go to play at this club. My dad was an electrician, so we would do these kegger parties that people would put on, like 12 kegs of beer. And then we would bring a generator out in the middle of the desert, and 4,000 people would show up, and the cops would say, no, that's it. And they'd break it up. Helicopters. It was just mayhem. You know, it was just rock and roll. You know, it was like the things that you dream of, you know, as a kid, but it was great. People were there and they dug it.
Hell yeah. So that hit song was called Love Kills. Is that right?
That was with Vinnie Vincent. That was the first one that was the hit. That was for Nightmare on Elm Street with Vinnie Vincent Invasion. The Excursion was a lot of it was in the local side of that side. It was more Las Vegas driven. Nice. So let's see. Yeah. Saw everybody on Sunday night. There you go. There's the show I just came from. That's crazy. Just reading some of the posts cool. There. Yeah.
Right. Becky Capone actually says you were the first concert she'd ever seen with Poison. And as of right now, you're the last concert she was had seen.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. We played with Poison in 1991. We were on the Flesh and Blood tour with those guys. So,
right.
Yeah. And then after we just finished up with the Hot in the Shade tour with Kiss, and what a blast this has been. We have a lot of friends in this whole business, and the fans that we've had over the years, we bring them back. We've had some great interaction with people, and living the dream. We love to have the same type of fun as the fans do because we're fans of music ourselves, and I think it portrays that when people see the band.
Absolutely.
It does. I mean, we play with you guys at the Rock and the Rivers, and what a great show. I mean, you guys were just loved it. I was like, these guys bring it. I mean, there was no question.
We just loved it.
Show is just like, it was clear that you guys loved it. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, they love it, and it's infectious. You just want to,
Well, you know what? We're living the dream. When you're a kid and you're learning how to play, and you say, "Man, someday maybe I can go play like a big concert." Well, we're doing that. Every weekend is a big concert. Even the ones even these clubs, and there's 1,000 people in it. It's just like, man, that's what you dreamed of as a kid, is having a packed house and people singing back to you, and we're the ambassadors of the party, and it's a great business to be in because no matter what you go to work, people are happy to see you. What a concept,
Right?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that when I go to work, but I do get to live off a little bit of that when I put the shows together. So, Mark, I got to tell you, way back in the early days of my life, I went to see you at a small club in Denver called Bangles. I don't know if you remember Bangles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I stood outside and I had a guitar and I was like, I'm going to get this dude to sign it.
There you go.
I didn't get that dude to sign it.
Oh, man. Normally I do. Yeah.
Not that you blew me off. I just never saw you come out. I was like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're all about it, man. We love to take care of our people. That's for sure. So
hell yeah.
It's crazy.
A great show.
Yeah, thanks.
Bangles wasn't that small of a club. Bangles wasn't that small of a place. It was pretty good.
It was good size, man.
Yeah.
Good size. I used to party there, and I worked there as a bouncer for a long time. So until they shut it down, but it was a fun place to be. Absolutely.
You have a DJ voice too in that side. It's just like all deep and perfect.
Jack FM, man.
Jack FM. So yeah. I hear you do a lot of voice work, brother. You're doing some animation stuff like Batman Beyond voiceovers.
Yeah, I did some stuff for that, and I've always been a goofball, and you pick up on people's, when we were out on tour with Kiss, I'd pick up, and have listen. What you need to do is you need to play some more Slaughter and make sure you play the best band in the world. That's Kiss. You know who that is. So, I mean, yeah, it's like I always had fun with that. I actually at one point auditioned for Donald Duck for Disney, and
really?
I was almost got that. Then I talked to him again, but you have to live in California, and I live out here in Tennessee, so it's kind of like one of those things that I don't know. I really enjoy being kind of away from it all and not dealing with traffic, etc. So
you're not in Vegas anymore, then?
No, I'm in Tennessee right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nashville?
Yeah, just south of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's great. We're on a farm out here. We got 12 acres, and
nice.
I turn my music up as loud as I want in here, and nobody's gonna be bothered except for my dogs.
Oh, that's
there
cool.
You go.
And they sing good though. It's all good wherever they are.
We're gonna be in Nashville at the Broadmoor. Have you heard the Broadmoor Theater?
No. Broadmoor. When's that?
September 10th or 9th. September 9th.
Yeah. If you guys, if I'm not doing a show, I don't have my schedule in front of me right now. But if I'm not playing the show, man, let's definitely hook up. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Come out. We'll make sure you get on the list. Everything, take care of you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love that.
That would be killer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear some Donald Duck. My daughter loves Donald Duck. I love Donald Duck growing up. She'll love this.
Okay, Robbie. If you really want me to, there you go.
That's great.
Yeah, what's funny is when you run around with the voiceover people, I've had so many great laughs of just being a goofball. It's like I always reflect back to my math teacher that said, listen, you playing the electric ukulele, that thing you're doing and doing all those weird voices, you'll never amount to anything. And I've had a lifetime of being a goofball and playing music, and I'm still making a living at it. So, go figure, right?
There you go.
Never listen to the experts, man. Follow your
Yeah,
heart,
right.
follow your soul and your
Right.
dream.
Yeah,
Look at
absolutely.
Elvis
Absolutely.
flunked high school music class, so
Yeah, right.
there's hope for the rest of us.
That's
So
awesome.
we've got questions coming in. One of the first questions right now, outside of voice work and music, if that wouldn't have happened, who would you be right now? What would you be doing?
If I wasn't doing music or voice work, I don't, I probably would have been an electrician because my dad did that by trade, and that was, we had kind of a deal that if I didn't make it by the time I was 25, that would go into the apprentice program and be, because the benefits were there and everything else. So that's probably what I would have done. And, I'm not afraid of the work. So, but subsequently I didn't have to do it. I had to learn a little electrical because my dad had beat me over the head, say, you're going to learn this. You got to do this. This is good for you. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's cool, man. That's cool that you guys had that agreement, though, that I'm going to give you some space. I'm going to give you your time to pursue your happiness. But if you don't hit it,
yeah. It was a right. He was a great father. He really gave me the chance to do what I did. And I taught guitar right out of high school. I taught guitar till I was 21, and then subsequently, joined Vinnie Vincent. And then that's when, I went on a totally different path of what I even thought I would be going on. But yeah, it's been great, man.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm kind of curious about the desert parties because I grew up in Tucson and we did the same exact thing. We'd pull out a flatbed truck, have a bunch of kegs. We had a bunch of different places that had certain names out in the desert that were really far away from the city. Nowadays, the city's out there where we used to have these parties. But so it was basically the same thing. You guys would just go far enough out that nobody could hear it. Well,
far enough out to where you couldn't see in front of your face if there wasn't a car light on or something. Yeah. And we would just, there's, as like you said, there's houses as there are in Tucson, same thing in Vegas. There's, it's all populated now, but it used to be out in the middle of nowhere. And we would find places that would reflect off the mountains, almost like Red Rocks over in Denver. We'd find a place where it would reverberate off the hills the right way. So it would really make the band sound really big and on that side. So that's kind of how we did it. And, it was a great experience. It really was.
Oh yeah. Those were great days for me personally. They were great days, kegger parties, generator, just thousands of people,
Yeah. Absolutely.
How cool is that? What a great memory.
Yeah. Lucky to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens anymore. Probably hasn't happened in years, would be my guess. But
it's hard. It's hard. They clamp it down. You can't. When we were kids, there wasn't really anything going, and it was only word of mouth and flyers that people would get, and put them in their notebooks at school, and then everybody would just show up down at these kegger parties, and and until the cops realized there was beer there, and then they'd shut it down. But what a great experience. It was just a blast. We play covers and do all the stuff that we love, Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Blair Abernathy wants to know, what guitar do you play most often on stage?
I play the Carlino guitars. Eddie Carlino makes my straps, and he makes my guitars as well. There's also a company called Faustinus Guitars. It's kind of they're all handmade. And those are really nice, but that's really the ones I'm playing. And I play a 12 string, and that varies on different sides, but Carlino guitars are pretty much what I've stuck to this last couple years.
So how did the Vinnie Vincent thing come about? How did that all, did you know him, or did he just hear of you, or what was it?
It was a crazy thing. Dana was producing a band called Sin, Rick Fox's Sin, and there's a gentleman who said, listen, there's a possibility for you to sing with this group. I was teaching guitar at the time, and he said, I got your number from a guy named Todd Cooper, and it's Jay Cooper, which is Streisand's lawyer's son, basically. And so I drove after I taught on a Friday from Vegas. I drove to California, went into the studio, and was with a whole bunch of guys singing background vocals along with the band called Black and Blue. And Tommy Thayer was one of those guys. It's the first time we really got a chance to hang. It was the first time I met Dana. That was in 1985. Oh. And so Dana was aware of my vocal, what I could do. And then they did the Vinnie Vincent record and with Robert Fleischman. And then basically the manager wanted Robert to sign a deal. And the manager said, look, you either sign this or you're not going to be in the band. He goes, well, I'm not signing that. So he didn't tour on that record at all. And then Dana called me up about a month before they were going to go out on tour because they were looking for a singer. And he said, I know you can do this. And subsequently, I ended up, doing that tour with Alice Cooper. And then we opened up for Iron Maiden on the Somewhere in Time tour, which is baptism by fire. We were glammed out of our tree and we're playing up in front of, some pretty hardcore, not that Alice is hardcore, but, they weren't really accepting glam bands at that time as the thing. But it was fun. It was a good lesson. I learned a lot. Then we went back in the studio, made All Systems Go, and then toured on that a little bit. And then after that broke up, I ended up getting picked up by that record label. And that's how Slaughter was started.
That's badass, man. Badass. Touring with Maiden, man.
As the river flows,
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. They just saw you in Lubbock. They said you kick some ass. They're hoping to see you in San Angelo soon. That's hey, I'm down with that. We can do that.
Yeah, you killer.
Absolutely. So
I got a question though. I'm kind of curious though. When you sang choir in high school, I mean, your voice must have been different, obviously. When did you find your voice? Because you have a very distinct, unique voice that's at some point you must have found that. Or were you always just singing like that? Or choir, it was just real, I imagine if you sing the way you sing in choir, it would be, would they be like push you out front or get mad or what,
No, yeah, I had a high, I'm what they call a true tenor. So I can sing very high into alto and actually even double on soprano parts. So I was able to do that. But really for the most part, it's weird because when you're in a choir, you conform your tone of how you open your mouth to match everybody else in the choir. And when you're a rock singer, you don't do that. So it's the exact opposite of how you learn classically trained is totally different than how you sing on a rock stage. And on in rock singing, there's also ways of Jack knows this because he was taught by the same vocal coach that I went through, Ron Anderson.
Oh yeah.
And it's really more about the thing of just keeping the air going out instead of trying to back it up. So I always have my mouth wide open and it's just letting all the sound come out. I don't hold it back or, you shut your mouth where it's not flowing, it's just wide open like that. So the sound's just projecting. So different type of singing, but that also helped me in for writing harmonies and doing the things I do and, having, all those aspects as well as R&B background, all this stuff just made me who I am as a musician. And it's not just one style.
No, it's cool. Very cool.
Damn straight. Let's see here. We have another question coming in from the audience here. Marco wants to know if there will ever be a DVD with the behind the scenes and videos of rarities of making Slaughter.
Of rarities. We have a box set that's being sold on Kiss My Wax. It has rarities that Dana and I just found of some demos of a lot of the songs. So that's the only thing that we have that's the rarities of tracks being released. But we're the whole COVID thing led us to basically start opening up our vaults and going through the different stuff that we've done over the years. And I think we're wanting to time capsule all that more in vinyl than anything, because I think that's probably the best sounding way of doing it. So if anybody's interested, I think there's only like 40 box sets left at kissmywax.com on those. So once those are done, it's just going to be albums. But as far as rarities, nothing at this point. That's the only place we're looking to do the time capsule stuff.
Interesting. So there you go. People go out and buy it before they're gone.
I'm looking for the website right now. We can share that here before the end of the show. It's called Kiss My Wax Records, correct?
Yeah, kissmywaxrecords.com. Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. Vinyl's definitely making a big surge, man. I've been buying a lot of it. I'm guilty of it.
It is. So I'm curious also, how did you get the band together for Slaughter? I know it was after Vinny Vincent. How did you get the players? How did that all come about? How you met each guy?
It's funny because the publicist we had, Deb Rosner, who also worked with Poison, put the word out that we were looking for players. So we got this influx of all these great players. And Blas was one of them, and we didn't even know, but that was one of the Bobby Rock, the drummer of Vinnie Vincent's. That was one of his students. And Blas was a different type of player than Bobby, but at the same, he was a very good player. So inevitably, we had his picture of all these things that were just like everywhere. And Dana's girlfriend at the time said, "Hey, he's a good looking guy. Why don't you check him out?" And I said, "All right." So like, it was just by chance of all these things that went on. It was like, we'll have this guy come out, and he basically drove up and auditioned. And Nick Menza was one of the other drummers who auditioned that we really liked. And Nick Menza ended up being the drummer for Megadeth. But there's some great players out there at that time. Guitar players. There was one guitar player that I thought was fantastic, and I said, "I just don't think this is your thing, but you're like Satriani, you're like one of those dudes." And that was Gary Hoey, and he later on went to do his thing. And Tim was I was at a barbecue, and he was just such a goofball, funny guy. He said, "I play guitar," and I said, "Oh, really?" And then he sat down and played, and I was like, "Man, this he's a funny guy, and he's fun to be around." And as you know, the most important thing when you're driving down the road is actually rubbing elbows with people that you like as human beings. And Tim was a really likable guy. And that was one of the things we really got a kick out of him. We had a lot of laughs with Tim.
Cool.
I know another guitarist sitting just here in this podcast that wanted to be part of Slaughter back in the day.
Yeah. It's funny. I was a big fan, but that was after they had already came out. And I had a band that was together for years in Arizona. And then when they broke apart, I moved to California, and I thought, man, I was just telling him the story. I go, the band I'd want to be in would be Slaughter. Those guys are the coolest, And then I ended up with Rob Halford, which is cool. I mean, but
there you go.
Like, Slaughter, man, Slaughter. I just loved you guys. I thought you guys were great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Rob Halford. He's a great player, singer, man. He's just great. Nice guy.
Yeah, he was definitely amazing, no question. Every night it was like a machine. I'm like, my God.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I've always loved, in that side that he goes with the same type of intensity when he goes to do his thing, man. Damn well that he means it. Yep. And Jack Russell's the same type of guy. Really, he just goes out there. He cares. I think that's the key point with singers who care about doing a good performance. And that's really, what I look at as my peers. When I see that, it's just really inspirational for me, and that's what I'm ultimately trying to do. Do better, get better, be stronger,
Yeah, that's great. That's just it. I think that's a great way to put it, that they care, and it shows that they care. You might have an off night. I mean, it's hard. Singing is hard. Going to different climates. I mean, no sleep. Whatever the situation can be. I mean, that's the hardest gig, is you got to make sure your singer is taken care of, because, man, that's not easy.
Right.
And then have to go there.
And you know what? All of us singers have like a little witch doctor thing that we do, which is like, okay, this is a dry climate. You got to do this. This is like, you always have like these just kind of, it's almost like you're superstitious. So you have to do certain things to be able to do what you do. But if you have an instrument, you have an instrument, but at the same time, you're still always like, I got to drink water. I got to do this. I have to be hydrated. I have to get 8 hours of sleep. I mean, it's like, and all the things that half the time you're not able to do, but you strive for that,
right.
You strive for that.
Oh yeah. We got another question that just came in. Growing up, what was the what was the one venue you wanted to play most of all, and have you played it?
The one venue I wanted to play was the Aladdin Theater for Performing Arts. That's where I saw, Rush and Van Halen and Santana, etc. I saw all the acts that I loved as a kid at this venue, and it's about, I think it's 7,500, 8,000. Now it's Planet Hollywood. Chris Angel now has that staged on a nightly basis. But it is probably one of the best sounding venues out there because it was designed for live music. And I ended up graduating on that stage as well. So I have a lot of ties to that because that's part of who I am as a musician, what made me want to be a part of that, and as well as graduating there. So I have a lot of ties to that venue. So that's probably the one that I go, man, I really want to play that one. And, I've done it. I had a chance in Madison Square Garden, obviously, because you see Song Remains the Same, and we drove the limo up the same way when we did it with Kiss years ago. That was a blast.
Cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. So touring with people like Kiss and Ozzy and Poison and Damn Yankees, you've got to have some crazy stories of the prep and the stories from the road. Anything you can share with us that really stands out?
As far as stories on the road, we were always, I think it's just the fact that we just enjoy every moment of it. I dressed up in a panda suit one time when we were ending a tour with, you always play a joke in the band that you're playing with. And we were playing with Ted Nugent. I dressed up in a panda suit and knocked on his door, and
you're lucky there's a shot.
That's what he said. He said, because Slaughter Boy, he goes, I thought you're, one of those crazy assholes, and I was going to have to shoot you. And I go, Ted, I'm the one white meat you don't eat, and, but, it's just, there's different dynamics with different people. And, obviously I played with the people that, I always looked up to and got to know them. And what a great life to be able to be a part of it.
There you go.
So you guys started just climbing fast. It happened pretty quick, didn't it? Once it started happening, it was like, the trajectory was, upward fast. I mean, you guys exploded on the scene, and then, doing all these tours and stuff, and maybe give some insight to some of the highlights at that point in time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my internet or your internet, but there was a little shaky there. What was that question again?
Oh, I was talking about your trajectory was pretty steep at one point. All of a sudden, you guys exploded. All of a sudden, it was just you guys were everywhere. You were seeing the videos all the time. I'm curious, some insight to what was going on. Were you able to enjoy the moment, or was it just kind of like a blur, like just going by? Were you able to really soak in some of that?
I'm very different than in the aspect of musicians, because I never had a substance abuse problem. I never really partied much. So I was, pretty much in the moment and knew what was going on all the time. It wasn't a blur to me, but it happened very fast. So that was very different. But, I loved, I was in it. I was a part of it, and I always looked at, I always looked at the other people around me of like, man, this is really cool. That's this person. And I respect those people. And, you get into the side where the people that you're influenced by, you get to know them, and you realize they're just human beings just like we are. And, but to be friends with them is kind of a cool thing, especially, for me. So as far as a blur, yeah, that first year was pretty much a blur because we didn't stop. We toured for a year and a half on the Stick It To You record. We didn't even go home at all. So that was crazy. I mean, we when I came home, I was like, oh man, we had 1 month off, and then we started writing the next record. So we were working really hard. That was probably the hardest working time that we ever did. But that's what made the band. That's where we met a lot of fans. That's where we really got the radio play and educated people what the music was about. And that's a time that people remember. So we don't run away from the nostalgic thing that the band does, because that's where we came from. We still play the hits. We're not, trying to slam a bunch of new music that nobody wants to hear down their throat. Even though I still record and do that, it's more about the nostalgic of where we came from,
What makes that era of music, this era of music, so profound and still so popular today, in your opinion, Mark?
I think this music represents a good time. I think this music is especially with what we're dealing with right now. I mean, I can tell you that by what I see as far as how things are being played, my royalties and the streams of what I'm seeing has increased a lot, because I think people it was a good time. It made you smile. And I think that's really what this music really represents is, you might have your heartache that we all go through, but at the same time, this music always made us, at the end of the day, to turn this stuff up, crank it up, hit the gas, and really get into life of how we did. And in its streams, I mean, when we're all in the old folks' home, I think it's going to be funny when somebody puts on Metallica or something heavy in the old folks' home and everybody's headbanging. Right. Yeah, it's like that's going to be that's going to be some funny shit right there. But that's where we came from, and we've been able to be a part of that. And I. Again, living the dream of doing that is just I still pinch myself every day in the fact that I'm able to do that.
Absolutely.
Cool. And that's such a total real statement about Metallica. And I thought about that. I was going on, when people are older, you're not supposed to listen, but everybody still listens to what they listened to growing up, whether it was Glenn Miller or whatever it be. Right. So, obviously, they're going to be 80, 90 years old, and they're going to be cranking this stuff up and rocking to it. It'll be like, whoa.
Yeah, we'll be turning it up. Here's the funniest part. We'll be turning it up even louder than we already turned it up.
Right.
It'll be like, Jesus Christ. We were disturbing the neighbors back then. We're really going to tear them up,
Cora said she's a hospice volunteer, and it has already happened where she's worked. So.
Oh, that's great. Wow. That's great.
Right.
That's great.
Hell yeah. All right, so somebody had a question. Driving down the road, stereo's on, Up All Night comes on. Do you crank it up, or do you go, I don't want to?
I crank it up, and the reason why, here's a funny thing for us. We're the only band from our genre that wrote and produced and actually still perform that music. So we've been through every phase of that music, and it's been a part of our life because it wasn't somebody outside bringing the music or a producer coming in and rearranging everything. We were always involved with it. And that, I think it's a little bit closer to us than it would be for other people. So when I turn it up, I'm listening to the subtleties and the things that I put in sonically that are at a whisper level that nobody else would even know is there. And that's the stuff that I love. I listen to it and I can't believe nobody really caught that. There's the beginning of Up All Night. There's a guy, it was a city street. And I said, hey, you want to buy a watch? It's barely just a stupid thing in there, but I hear that and I laugh because nobody hears these things that are put in there.
Really? Now I've played your song probably 8 million times in my career, and I've never caught that.
Yeah, it's really subtle. It's right before the song starts. It's when the streetscape and all that stuff. And I wanted the nightlife of Las Vegas and New York were the two places that I thought of the nightlife. But when I was in New York, everywhere I went, man, people were like, hey, you want to buy a watch? And I'm like, why is everybody trying to sell me a watch? It's like hot watches that they steal from people, or they're like got Rolex copies or whatever it is. And so I just threw it in there just because I thought it was kind of funny. And those little things like that, I love those nuances. It's like a Pink Floyd or the bands that I grew up with. I love those ear candy things that you find later,
Absolutely.
Always something new if you listen there. If you put all those little things in there, if somebody's really listening, they'll catch it. Go, wait a minute, I never noticed that before. What is that? Or
Right.
That's cool.
At the very end of, and in this, I haven't even ever talked about this before, but the end of Fly the Angels, I said to Dana, I said, what if, let's backward mask something. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? And I go, just at the end, I said, at the end of Fly the Angels, let's put, let me just whisper a few things, and whatever sounds cool backwards, we'll use that. And I put divine order in his name. Of God is what that is. So, and then it's flipped around. So it goes da 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 da, and it's just barely there, but it's there. So those are the things that I listen to, and I go, wow, that's crazy. But we were doing all this. We were having fun in the studio and doing what we thought Beatles would be doing when they recorded. You get into it deeply instead of just like, that's good enough. Let's go party. I mean, that wasn't us. We were still, burning the candle at 4 a.m. and going to be back at 7,
Cool. Now, where were you recording at? What studio were you in?
We recorded at Pasha, which is where Quiet Riot did their drums. And Dana was familiar with that studio because he was a second engineer years ago. Even during the time of when Ozzy was out doing the King Biscuit Flower Hour, Dana was out there with Dwayne Barron. They went and recorded all that stuff, and so that was a studio he knew. So we went in there and did it there, and then we went into this room that I swear the studio that we recorded in was about the size of this studio right here. It wasn't real big, but I sang in a small little closet there, and we would buy the studio out for basically a whole month, but we block it out and we would just work 24 hours a day as much as we would do. We would just, kick ass. And so the recording cost on the Stick It To You record, surprisingly, was only $16,000. So upon the release of that record, we were already recouped.
Nice.
Now, so it was very different.
That's living.
Yeah, it is. It is because the first show we played was with Kiss on May 4th in 1990 in Lubbock, of all things. And we came off the stage, and Joe Keener, who's the CEO of the record label, and John Sykes, who is the record company president, had flown out there. We didn't even know they were there. And they handed us gold records when we came off of the very first show. We never played a gig ever in the band's history because we didn't feel like we wanted to do clubs or anything else. We just went through rehearsals, and our first show was with Kiss. It was our very first time we played as a band live.
Wow.
So it was kind of like, I looked over at Dan and I said, I think we did something right. That's what I said to him, when we had the records in our hand in the very first show. And he goes, yeah, I think so, man. This is going to be a fun ride. And I said, it is. And it was just this elation and this fun aspect of the music at that time, and MTV actually played it and people were responding to it, and radio was king, and the internet wasn't around, slamming everybody and, creating all kinds of weird conspiracies, etc. It was just good times. And again, that's what this music represents, whether it be Great White or Cinderella or Slaughter or Van Halen or, any of these bands, they make you feel good. And that's the beauty of this music. You turn this stuff on, man. If you're still depressed when you're listening to it, then there's something wrong with you.
That's right.
Amen, brother.
Right.
Amen. Dana Selvey wants to know if there's a song that you actually hate playing, but still do it.
No, because we wrote them all. It's very different. I mean, there's some bands and some artists that had other people write songs and they go, God, I have to play that song again. They're not emotionally attached to it. When you write it yourself, I think there's a different thing that as I'm singing and playing it, I can go reflect back to when I was in that little small studio recording and writing this stuff and being a part of it. And, it just, living in an apartment in Los Angeles in the time, it was a different time. And, it was a different city. Vegas was a different city. But you still go back. It's like all music, only thing that takes you back, like the hourglass, is music and the sense of smell. Those are the two things that take you back and you go,
Yep.
Man, that's so crazy. And it's just like, the feelings are just amazing. And that's really what music or the sense of smell does for you.
Absolutely.
Nailed
Soundtrack
it.
of our lives.
It
Yeah,
absolutely the truth. It brings you right back, and that's cool for you to be able to be brought back, and then you project that when you're singing it. And
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. And I think it's a love of it, and it's a love. If you put, it's just like somebody who cooks you a meal out of love, or somebody just slaps something together. There's a difference, man. If you put love in it, people feel it. And I think that's what you have to do for it to actually, in anything, even a mechanic putting love in a car, man, you could tell when somebody loves their job when they do it. They do a badass job, and the car is just, it's tight and it runs great, and they're proud of it and makes it to where it's a better car to drive.
Absolutely.
That's exactly
so Flight of the Angels on my life soundtrack takes me back to 17 years old, sitting in a blue Ford Festiva with my buddy Todd, and we were both trying to sing that song and get to those notes. And we'd be like, man, we were almost there. Rewind it. And we'd sit there for hours and hours. We were nowhere close to it, but we thought we were close to it, Every time I hear it, man, I'm like, Todd in that blue Ford Festiva,
Right? Yeah, isn't it funny that the cars take, and it's funny because I have a friend who's a classic car. He works on one of my classic, I have a classic truck, old Ford F1. And we talked about, for our age and for all of us, we're so into classic cars, we're into classic rock. And these kids coming up, they just don't care. They just want to get from A to B. They don't care if it's Uber, Lyft, or their friend taking them. It's not about cars like it is for us. That was part of what we were like, oh man, even in our little crappy cars, if they barely got us there, we love those cars. We still remember it back the same way. We don't go, man, that really sucked. That was a piece of shit. I mean, you still look back on it, even when you're on the side of the road and the battery's dead. Hey man, it's still a car that got you to where you are right now. Got you there.
That is so true.
And we're thankful for that.
I had a 76 Ford Torino station wagon, and I still sometimes dream about that car. I mean, it's just like, I loved it. That's why I drove to California, and when I moved, I packed it to the gills and I drove in it, and it ran great to the day I got rid of it. But you're right, it's still something that it's a part of you, or I mean, it's just, there's something special about it. It wasn't the greatest car.
Well, and you can get all your gear in it, and and maybe one of your friends, and it's all cool, Yep.
Right. Totally. 78 Ford Thunderbird was the one for me, brother. It was a boat, but I miss that car.
There you go.
It was a boat. Brady Preston wants to know, is there a type of music, genre of music that you don't actually appreciate?
No. Well, let me think. As far as music, I'm not really into polkas. It just... And I like stuff with bass. So I if there's something that doesn't have bass in it, I don't feel it as much. I'm not a bass. Well, I play bass on some recordings, but if it's something that I have to feel, you listen to a Motown record, you got to feel the bass. You listen to something that's really, the Slaughter records, Dana's bass is very, like Sabbath. It really moves you and you feel it. And I think that's something that is really important to what I need to hear as a vocalist. So it's more about sonically what I don't, if I don't hear bass is something, I don't like it as much. And I'm not even, again, I'm a guitar player singer, but I have to hear the bass. That's my center. I've done that a lifetime.
There you go, brother. Yeah. There you go. One concert that stands out in your mind more than anything that you played.
That we played. The one that sticks out the most is we played a show right outside in Alpine Valley, and it was what happened was Stevie Ray had died in a helicopter crash a week before, and as we were playing, I looked over to the right and I'm looking at this charred hill. And I just said, just quietly, I just said, I said, right over there on that hill, we lost one of the most incredible guitar players. ever. And I said, I'd like to dedicate this to Stevie Ray Vaughan, who passed away right over there on that hill. Everybody get your lighters up. And it was 22,000 people, and it was like a religious experience because everybody respected him and they respected the song, and we were all emotionally involved. It was almost like, this great, rock and roll for a minute. And it moved me, and it still makes a hair on my arm stick up thinking about it, because it was just a respect of a great artist, and the respect that people had towards that artist. And just to be able to play our song to show that was incredible. So that's probably the most of all the songs that I played live or in a place. That really moved me.
Wow.
That's intense.
That was extremely heavy, man. I mean, obviously being in where I'm at in Texas, Stevie Ray Vaughan here is a legend.
Just such a, and he worked at a studio that I used to, when I was a kid, I used to see Stevie there, and he would sometimes just stay at the studio, and we would be going in to record, and there's Stevie laying on the couch, hey, Stevie, how's it going? Oh man, long night. He was partying hard at the time, but it's like, you these people around you who are such legendary people, and then you realize, how incredible they are as musicians, and they become a part of your musical environment that makes you who you are. And that definitely, that moved me, the way he played anyway. As being in Texas, that guy was a monster. He's right there with Hendrix.
He was personified. I mean, you watch his body, you watch his jaw, you watch everything about him. I mean, it's not the guitar making the music, it's him. It was goosebumps
he just
talking about it.
It's mojo, man. It's just mojo. That's just what it is. He had it. He meant it. Every note that he played, he meant to play it. And there's no accidentals in that. It's just matter of fact. And I think that's, as a musician, you're always trying to find your music to make it a matter of fact, because it's not just brazing over to just getting through it. It just means more. Again, it's the love that you put into it. It's the emotion you put into it. You really want somebody to know this one note really means that. And, same for a singer, same for a drummer, the way he hits a drum. Bat, when a guy's like, man, that guy's a monster. Well, that's because when he hits a snare or he hits his kick drum, that he means that. And he's very authoritative and, ready to kicking some ass. That's what it is.
We lost another one here in Texas this past week with Dusty Hill of ZZ Top. Obviously a huge influence in music.
Great. And these guys were around, at the same time as the Stones. People don't realize that's our rock and roll. These are legendary, rockers of our yesteryears. I mean, that when I was a kid, my cousin played, LaGrange and Tush and all that stuff in his El Camino. And I remember hearing this music. This is so cool. Just a young snot-nosed kid. But those are the things. And I saw ZZ Top play it with Tower of Power opening in Las Vegas at the Silver Stadium. And they were great. It was great.
Yeah.
Great band. So it is a loss. It's such a loss, but it's wonderful to have the music that we can reflect back on. And again, those are the things that get us through our day. I'm still a music fan, just like you guys are. I mean, we're all, we love this, we love it.
Speaking of still having the music, and not to be on a dark note, but knowing that someday we're not going to get out of this alive, knowing that your music, your lyrics, your message will live on forever. That's got to be a very surreal feeling for you, Mark.
It is, I think the main thing, being a fan of the Beatles as a kid, I think that when you realize that you're writing a song, and even when you're writing a song that needs to connect emotionally to somebody. So when we were writing our records, we were trying to look at the record like, what emotion do do we not have on this record? Is it ass kicking rock and roll? Is it, an obsession? Is it a love song? Is it a sad song of loss? Is it, you look, your anthem, Up All Night was the anthem that we broke through with initially. And I think that that's the thing that we always try to do, is put all the emotions of what we go through in a record, so it plays as we feel, instead of just like, look, AC/DC, you turn that up, you're going to be drinking and you're going to party through the record all the way through. And those are great records that way. And, same thing with ZZ Top. It just has that, it's like, you could play pool and, drink beers and look at a pretty girl all night. That's what ZZ Top is. But our music was, it was a different, that's how we wrote it. So to be a part of people's lives and their soundtrack, that's what we wanted when we started doing this in the very beginning.
Wicked, brother. Wicked.
Definitely achieved it. You definitely achieved it. And I think on top of that, being good people is super important. I mean, and I could say that, we met one time at the Rock and the Rivers, and I thought, man, you were just the coolest guy. You and Dana, I talked to Dana for quite a while, but I'm in your dressing room basically, and you come in and you said hello, and you were very genuine, and I really appreciated it. I thought, this guy is a very genuine
thank you.
person.
It's life's too short not to be nice, and to enjoy other people's company and hear what they have to say and learn from each other and live. And, if you're having a good time, good times, or help somebody else, go through something they're going through. I have a friend of mine, actually, when we finish this, I have a friend of mine who's got COVID. I have to take Mucinex over to him. That's what I'm doing when we finish up here, because that's what you do for somebody. If you're a friend, you go help each other. And that's the important side of it. It's not just what's in it for me or a money grab, because all that stuff, you can't take this stuff with you when you go. It's how you're a part of people's lives. And, again, speaking of Jack Russell, again, I nod to him because he was a friend to me at a time I really needed a friend. And I respect that,
Cool.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, it's the impression you leave behind. Very important.
It is, man. It is. It is. And again, those friendships and those things of helping each other, we're all just trying to get up this big slippery slope over here. And if we all give each other a hand, we can get it to the top, and there's, a good party going on up there, but we gotta help each other to get there.
Yeah, totally. Well, I hope we get to play some shows together in the future. I mean, we did the one, and we actually almost had another one, the Keys in Florida. We were on the same night, but things got moved around, and we're not on the same night. However,
oh man,
I'm going to be there when you guys play. So,
great. Perfect. Sure. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Yeah, man. We'll hang out. Absolutely. Look forward to hanging out. And again, as guitar players and musicians, we're all these gearheads, and we're always looking for the perfect sound and the perfect tone, and we'll never achieve that. But, we like to talk about it, and we like to get there and find ways to get there. And it's because you love this craft, because you love this music. You want to deliver something to somebody that is just more than just plugging in and not giving a crap. You want to emotionally move them like you were emotionally moved when you turned on that first record or whatever. And, now you understand the complexity of putting a song together and playing live and doing all this stuff. But to them, they're just there to enjoy it. So it's our job to go and make sure that they get that. And that's where I'm at. I just really want to bring that forward, and we can all of us friends can go out there and entertain. And again, it's the entertainment industry to entertain and make people happy. It's not a political statement. It's not like this person for Congress or whatever. None of that shit matters. These people will come and go and be bought off by some other lobbyist anyway. It doesn't matter. It's all shit. Who cares? Yeah. Who cares? Bottom line is, man, get into the music, enjoy your life, love the ones you love, and don't let anybody steal your fire.
There you go.
Damn, that's it right there, brother.
Man.
That's it.
So anything that you guys have, a new record coming out, anything that's new that anybody should know about?
No, it's I'm writing all the time, and getting these guys, as you know, Dana and Blando, and also Will Hunt, who plays with Evanescence. He's in and out doing shows with Vince Neil all the time, and he's also Will is with Evanescence. So I mean, we're all scattered all over this country of ours, and we just never get in the same room to just write. So, I don't know when we're going to do that. And Dana and I haven't done that in years. And he's got a young son who is entering the 4th grade. So he goes home and he's dealing with this kid. And, I'm out here just, still like, just looking for the perfect sound and song and everything else to just at least have that last, music that inspires somebody. I mean, that's what I do,
Nice.
It's funny, as I reached out to Dana several times. I don't know why, but years ago I got his number and I was like, hey, brother, we want to have you on the Hangout Live. And then Jody Best contacted me and she's like, would you like to have Mark? I'm like, well, hell yeah, we'd love to have Mark.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing with Dana. There's one thing with him. Once you ask him one question, that's pretty much your whole show. There is no shortcuts in that side of it, and he's got some great stories, and he's certainly lived and he's been a great partner. But he definitely he loves to tell stories, man.
We'd love to have him on, brother.
Yeah. Well, no doubt. Well, make sure you have a 3-hour program.
So big shout out to Jody Best for helping line this up for us and bringing you on, Mark. Your genuineness shines through, my brother.
Thank you, man. Well, listen, we're all so lucky to do this, and again, to all the people who are, watching this and being a part of this this broadcast. The key point is we appreciate you, all of us. We're sitting here talking about it, but this is because we have a love for it, because we want to bring that forward and show people this is what we love. This is why we do this. Now you get it. Now that's what this is all about. So, again, we're going to all be doing it in our perspective ways. And I appreciate you guys for having me on. And again, looking to see you guys down the road, as well as many of the fans. And you guys know where I'm at, man. I'm right here.
All right, cool.
Right
Thank
on,
you.
brother.
Thank you.
Stay in touch. Bring you to stage here soon, brother. I promise.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate you.
All right, my brother.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Mark.
Mark Slaughter, everyone. All right.
Oh,
Mark Slaughter joining me on the Hangout Live, brother. What an incredible gentleman, humble.
What did I tell you? I didn't read him wrong. I didn't read him wrong, and I knew it. Just the one time meeting him, you can tell when somebody's a genuine person, and that guy is genuine. And a lot of great life lessons for all of us, right?
Yeah. And Mark is so much of my soundtrack of my life growing up, brother. I mean, his voice and the music and his lyrics takes me back to so much of my childhood and growing up, dude. It was incredible to sit here and share an hour with him. So
I'll tell you this, as much as I've liked them in the past, it's so great to find out that he is as cool as he is. You know what I mean? Because sometimes if you meet somebody and you go, oh man, you love them, and then they weren't that cool,
right,
you just lose that kind of like, I don't want to listen to it anymore. Not me. Now I double down and want to hear him more,
Right. Hell yeah. So tune in tomorrow morning to my morning show, 103.5. So you go to www.jackandbull.com. Hit listen now. I'm going to do a 15-minute set of Slaughter, nothing but Slaughter, from 8 o'clock till 8 a.m. till 8:15.
Nice.
Just because I want to. So, all right, we've got, who do we have next week?
We've got Brad Gillis.
Brad Gillis.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
Night Ranger joining us right here on the Hangout Live, man. It's going to be a fantastic show. And as always, we love each and every one of you. Get your tickets to the Rock the River show so you can come hang out with both of us and some other people.
Make sure you share this, right? Share it, press like, share it. The YouTube, the Twitch, the Facebook, whatever you're seeing this on, share it, like it, talk about it.
Hell yeah.
We'll keep it coming. If you keep watching, we'll keep doing it.
That's it. All right. Until next time, we love each and every one of you. Be kind, be happy, be safe, and most of all, go rock your